Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to Wargame Shelf Tour number 4. Now we haven't done one of these for a while, but this is the series where we take 10 semi-randomly selected wargames off the shelves behind me and talk about how they ended up in my collection and why they're there. So let's jump in and get started. Let's get started. We're starting with the big one here. Fields of Fire 2 from GMT Games. Now this is a single player game where you take the role of the 5th Marines in various engagements, of course in World War II, Korea, and then in Vietnam. A game that I watched, I think it was Blue Tweezers and Solo Boardgaming have videos of this gameplay up on their site. I saw those games and saw them play them and I thought, wow, that looks like a game I would really love. Now, of course, the thing that makes me nervous about this, I think there's certain games you buy that you buy in a moment of bravery, right? And you say, yeah, I'm ready. I can do that. And we're going to look at another one next, actually, too. But I think this is one of those games because this game it's infamous for its learning curve. Let's put it that way. And I know that GMT Games there's a big effort underway now to kind of rewrite the rules and to clarify some of the challenges, we'll say, with learning the game. But as it stands right now, this is both Fields of Fire 1 and Fields of Fire 2 are, from what I've heard, some of the more challenging games to learn as a wargamer. So because of not necessarily the complexity, both the complexity of the rules and perhaps some of the intricacies of the rules that might take a while to sort out given how the rules have been written so far. That might be a nice way to say that, right? Hopefully. Now, I had originally thought to get Fields of Fire 1, but it just wasn't available. I've heard they're pretty similar, so I got Fields of Fire 2. As of right now, this one still sits on the shelf of shame. It's still in the shrink wrap because I do need a second moment of bravery after the purchase here to dig in to start to learn it because I have heard it's pretty challenging. If you have tips or guidance for this one, I am all ears. In addition to, of course, watching some of the fine videos that are out on YouTube for this one now. So Fields of Fire 2, hopefully ready this year to jump into the challenge because I've heard it rewards those who complete the journey with some amazing gameplay. Let's go now to our second game here. I think this one kind of fits, well, not really maybe, in the same category. Well, certainly it does, right? Okay. Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit number 1. So I was watching some gameplay videos on Hissy Cat Studios, and I thought, wow, he was doing some of the Advanced Squad Leader where he's learning how to play the system. And I watched his video, and I thought, oh, that actually looks like a lot of fun. And I have to be totally honest, I've hesitated with the Advanced Squad Leader system up until now because it's a big commitment, right? Both in terms of learning, because there's just so much out there, and most of the games and most of the content packs have rules that are applicable to either the combat units that were there, or the tanks, or the armor, the vehicles, and stuff like that. So it's not a learning challenge for the faint of heart. But one of the things that struck me about this Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit was that it's not a full set of the rules, right? And it's kind of a gradual introduction to the series, if you would. So this is just infantry in this one. And then Starter Kit number 2 adds guns. Starter Kit number 3 adds vehicles. Starter Kit number 4 adds the Pacific Theater. And my initial thought with this was that, oh, this isn't, it's not a full game in and of itself. There's not much gameplay in it. But as I was watching Hissy Cat Studios play and kind of reading more about it, this is actually a very affordable kind of introduction to the Advanced Squad Leader system. So what I thought was, okay, I'll get this. I'll see how I like it. And if I like it, then maybe I'll continue on with the series. But this is kind of a nice way, I think, to get a test with it. Now, I have started playing it. I've started the first scenario, and I am enjoying things quite a bit. And I haven't found, I mean, I guess this is not the full rule implementation, so it's not as challenging as I thought it might be so far. So far, I'm finding it actually relatively straightforward, and the rules are really clear. They've obviously had a lot of iterations to get the rules into their current state, which helps a lot, because there's complexity and there's ambiguity. Complexity, I think, is much more manageable than ambiguity. So I am enjoying this so far, and I'm looking forward to digging in more. I don't know how far I will continue my Advanced Squad Leader journey, because I do have a lot of games that I want to play, and I feel like Advanced Squad Leader it's kind of an all-in. It really becomes a way of life. So I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet, but so far, so good. I'm really happy with the purchase. I'm really happy with the system, and I'm really happy with this individual kit, which has a good amount of gameplay in it for the price. So yeah, that's a newly kind of acquired piece for the collection there, and I'm liking it so far. So our next game SpaceCorp 2025 to 2300. This is from GMT Games as well. And why is it in my collection? Well, it's a recent arrival. I just got this one recently with its expansion too, because I've heard the expansion, I think it's Ventures, increases, it kind of enhances the gameplay quite a bit, especially if you're playing it solitaire, because it is a very good and very solid solitaire mode as well. But to get back to that initial point, why is it in my collection? It's in my collection because if John Butterfield designs it, I think I'm going to like it. I've really enjoyed playing D-Day at Omaha Beach, and I think pretty much everything that I've seen him design, I've really enjoyed playing. So I wanted to add this one to the collection while it was still available in print. And the other thing I think about this too, there's not a lot of good, and I mentioned this before in one of the earlier videos, there's not a lot of good science fiction war games or science fiction kind of simulation games like this that I think when you see a good one and it's got a good designer, oh yes, I think I'm going to really like this one. I've also understand too, it's got kind of 3 levels to play to it, if you would, where you play a while and then the game evolves at the end of its first stage and then it evolves again into 3 stages. So very excited to see how this one plays. Big fan of science fiction, big fan of John Butterfield's work. So those are a lot of good things altogether. So looking forward to getting this one to the table. All right, our next game, an oldie but goodie, Luftwaffe from Avalon Hill, 1971. Why is this game in my collection? This is another game that I think I got from my brother after he stopped playing. And I played it. I've actually played this one a couple times about 20 years ago. I think, though, I don't think I played it enough to really understand the strategy or understand the gameplay that well. So I'm looking forward to digging back into this one again. And I think, too, one of the things I want to do as the channel goes forward and as I get time to build more things out is to really spend some time with some of these older Avalon Hill games and some of the older SPI games. I got a box of those downstairs as well, too. And I think there's a lot of gameplay in there. So it's fun to revisit the history of wargaming and see how games have evolved and stuff like that. So, and this simulation here, kind of the bombers over Europe with the Germans trying to defend the fatherland and stuff like that. I think there's a certain kind of tactical and strategical appeal to this kind of game that I really enjoy. So that's why this one's in the shelf, and I hope to bring it to the channel at some point in the future. Again, that's one of those Avalon Hill bookcase games from so long ago. Let's go to, this might be another, no, it's not. I was going to say it might be like, what was I thinking? But it's not, right? Because Fatal Alliances, it's a spawn off of the World of Flames system, although that's not really, I guess I would say, a system. But this Fatal Alliance is the World War I version of the World in Flames World War II monster game. This one in and of itself, it's pretty big. I mean, there's a lot of counters here, right? 1,680 counters. There's a lot of counters here. If you do get the game, be sure to open it up. I would say there is an errata set of counters. There's about 10 or 12 of them or so that Compass Games will send out. I received, my game didn't have them in it, so I just sent them an email and it showed up like a week later. And so you get the errata pieces for there's just a few of them that are a little bit off in the original version of the game. So you want to check with that when you open up the game. Grand strategic game of World War I. Now, I understand that having played World in Flames is helpful for learning this one, so I'm not sure how that impacts the learning curve. The complexity says a 6 out of 10 on it, and I've looked through the rulebook, and it does make some references to World in Flames. What I've heard is that it's easier to learn this if you've played World in Flames. But I'm hopeful, actually, that this might be a good starting point for that system, because I think this is not at all the level of the monster game that World in Flames, the World War II version, is. And I've lately been realizing that I don't really know that much about World War I history other than some of the kind of the core Eurocentric parts along the Western Front, if you would, with kind of France, Britain, and Germany along the Western Front. I really don't know much about the conflict as a whole, so I thought this would be a good way to kind of dig in and learn more, as we'll see with another game coming up as well. So yeah, kind of excited to dig into this one. This one came just a little while ago, as well as kind of building up that collection again. Again, one of the dreams is to kind of start getting some of these larger games to the channel. I think there's still some skills to develop to be able to do that, but I'm very hopeful, and at least I'm hopeful to dig into play as well. So, speaking of World War I, let's stay on that path. Get it? That was intentional. Paths of Glory, the First World War from GMT Games, 1914 to 1918. Again, kind of spawning from that interest in World War One, and kind of, I guess would be a very similar game to Fatal Alliances too. This game was a game that someone was selling at a very affordable price, used locally, and so thankful for them for offering that up, and I was able to pick that one up at that price. And one of the other reasons I wanted to get this one in particular when I saw it was available, Stuka Joe has his solo card play system, card-driven system that's coming out from GMT Games, and this is one of the games that's featured in that system. So I'm very interested in playing his system that he's got developed, and it should be arriving, I want to say, within a month or two, maybe. So I'm hopeful to take his Solitaire card system and his rules for that and take that kit and then apply it to this game. So that's the plan there, and that's why I got this game in addition to that kit that's coming up too. So very excited about that, because I've heard very high praise about Stuka Joe's system, and everything that he touches is really good work. So very excited to kind of bring this one. I think this one too would be ultimately something that could go to the table. I'm also very excited in 2022 becomes the year of 2-player and multiplayer as I try to reach out. We're getting past the pandemic and stuff like that. Looking forward to kind of playing this one face-to-face as well. So very excited about that one. I've heard great things about it. It gets very high ratings on Board Game Geek, and it's kind of in that World War I interest, and it's got Stuka Joe's Solitaire system with it. But let's move on to our next game, Bismarck Solitaire. This one I picked up, again, I saw Solo Board Gaming. Pretty much like anything he does a video on, I end up buying it, right? So it happens, right? He just really makes the game seem appealing. And in his defense, in my defense, I think that he plays a lot of solitaire games. I like solitaire games, of course, and he really does a good job of highlighting the gameplay. If you haven't checked out his channel, by the way, I'll put a link to it down below. Highly recommended, outstanding stuff. And this was a game he featured on his channel a while ago, and I thought, oh, that looks kind of fun. I got this one because I think it's a good game that you can travel with, although having said that, ironically, I just took a week vacation about 3 weeks ago, and I ended up not bringing it with me. So I'm not sure why, but anyway, despite that, I am looking forward to playing it for a couple of reasons. One, a portable game, I think like this can be very handy in a lot of situations. The second thing is that I'm really curious to see how a book form game plays. The thing and the reason why I should explain a little bit, right? The reason why I didn't bring it with me is that I wasn't able to the question as to whether I want to write in the book or not. And I had a lot of other things that I wanted to read on that vacation. I was behind on some reading and stuff like that. So I said, okay, I'll solve that question later. Because one of the questions that you answer, I think, as you play this is, do you come up with some kind of system so that you don't write on the pages so that you can play the game again? Or you just go ahead and write on the pages? And I didn't have my answer, and so I just avoided the decision. But I am very looking forward to this. I've heard it plays really fun. And again, it's got, like 30 pages here? More than that, for sure. Pages, I can't see the numbers here. There's a lot of pages and a lot of missions in here. A lot of gameplay at a very affordable price. I think I got this one on Amazon or something like that because that was the easiest way for me to get it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Very creative game. And they have a number of games in this series. And so I think if I like this one, then I would extend off into more too. So looking forward to that one. It should be a fun experience. Another one, I think this one is kind of an oldie category one. I'd have to kind of check to see when it came out. But maybe, 2017 is when it's listed here. So I thought it was a little bit older than that. But Legacy of Dragonholt. This was a game that, again, and there was a time right around shortly after the winter holidays there, where a couple of local gamers were selling some games. They were moving and things like that. And this was a game that caught my eye in this guy's collection. And he had for a very affordable price, very reasonable price. And I said, well, what is it like? And I kind of looked it up a little bit. And the gameplay really intrigues me. It's a fantasy kind of role-playing, read and build your own adventure as you go type of thing. So it's got a lot of books inside it, right? You got a lot of books and you build a character. And then it reminds me a lot of kind of choose your own adventure, but with a lot more statistics and ratings and characteristics and on a much grander scale. I mean, there are a lot of books in here and a lot of gameplay. So I'm a big fan of role-playing games as well, especially on the PC and kind of that element and that nature. Not so much, haven't done so much in terms of tabletop, but I thought this looked like a really fun, a really novel, and an interesting game. And I have interest in game design, so I like to get games that I think are somewhat unique, if only from the perspective of exploring some of the thinking behind how they designed the game. Although I think this is going to be fun to play too, I'm also interested because I think it's a very unique game of which you won't see You don't see many games designed like this, and I've heard really good things about it too. So looking forward to playing and getting into Legacy of Dragonholt. Let's go on. We have, wow, time goes fast. 2 more. Raiders of the Deep. I think many of you will know why this one's in my collection, because it's got submarines in it, well, U-boats more specifically. From Compass Games, though, I got this one because this is the World War I version of the Hunters and the Hunted. So you're going to take U-boats in the Great War. It's not designed by Gregory Smith, the designer of the original U-boat games, but it's built off of that same system. I love that system for its ability to tell stories, and I also like the system as I've kind of played the Hunters and Silent Victory on the channel now. I like the games because of the way they handle the different theaters and the different conflicts. So I'm really interested to see the twists and challenges and differences for this game as opposed to the Hunters, the Hunted, and Silent Victory and things like that. So I think I'm going to like this one a lot. This one will eventually make its way, I think, to Submarine Mondays, probably after By Stealth and Sea is what I'm thinking. So very excited about it. Also excited to see the differences and how they handle, World War I U-boat combat in particular. And maybe one of these days we'll finally get through a whole campaign with a U-boat. So excited about that one. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to play. Our last game, Nevsky. The first game in the Levian campaign series. This is by GMT Games. Teutons and Rus in Collision, 2040 and 2042. Medieval combat and a Levian campaign system. And the new game, the second game in the series coming out shortly, which is Almoravid. I've been very interested in the system. And I feel like after kind of seeing the activity in the Discord server for the games that are being designed in this system, I feel like this is the next big thing, right? So there's the Coin series, which is very popular, and we've got, well more than 10 games right now. I feel like the Levian campaign series could be the next Coin series, right? There's a lot of games in development. It's just a very highly regarded series. This game is very highly regarded, very unique, kind of novel, and yet quality gameplay. So I think just a ton of good things to learn. A little bit of a learning curve, but not inordinate or anything like that. And just the system and seeing the energy that the designers bring to it. Volko Runke, of course, bringing tons of design energy to this series and to this game in particular, and the second game in the series. Hearing about the Almoravid, the second game in the series, and how they're working to make the Vassal experience better with Brian Reynolds and things like that, the designer of one of the designers of the Civilization series for PC games. So just a lot of energy, emphasis, effort, and care, I think, being put into this series, into the games that are coming out in this series. So I felt like, yeah, this made sense to get this one and learn it. And it's on my to-do list, or my list of games to play in 2022. I'm also very excited. I think this one is a great 2-player game. And, well, of course it's a great 2-player game. It's not a solitaire game, right? What are you talking about? But I think both the 2-player and the solitaire experience for these games are very positive. So I'm looking forward to experience both of these things and digging into this system. So one of the gaming goals for 2022 is to dip my toes into the Coin series and to make progress with the Levian campaign series. And so I thought I would start here. And that, I think, brings us to the end. So we've frittered away another 20 minutes or so talking about 10 semi-random games from the game shelves behind me and stuff. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, please consider subscribing. About 40 to 50% of the content on the channel is wargame content and historical simulations. Have you played any of these games? Any tips for other games that should be on the shelves behind me if you've seen these games that are there? Which ones do you like? Have you tried them? Which ones are in your collection? Which ones do you hope you add? I'd love to hear more. Please drop a comment down below. And again, thanks for tuning in and watching, and have a great day.